So the next pyramid that we have is pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of biomass is comparatively more fundamental as compared to the pyramid of number. Why? Because instead of taking into account a geometrical factor, now they start taking into account a quantitative relationship between the standing crops of different organisms. So if I have to define what is pyramid of biomass basically depicts the amount of dry mass of an organic matter in grams per meter square. So that's why this becomes much better way of looking at things than pyramid of number. So first you need to remember that if we talk about a forest or a grassland, there is generally a gradual decrease in the biomass of organisms at successive levels from the producers to the top carnivores, and that's why this will be upright. And if in case of a pond, if we talk about, the producers are small organisms, their biomass is least, and this value gradually shows an increase towards the apex of the pyramid, thus making the pyramid inverted in shape. So if you look at these two diagrams, this you have for a forest or a grassland, and this is for a pond or underwater. So this is upright and this pyramid is inverted. So that's why again we see this. Then the third pyramid is pyramid of energy, and pyramid of energy is the most important pyramid that we have. The best, you can say, of the three types of ecological pyramid, energy pyramids give the best picture of overall nature of the ecosystem, and that's why these are very, very important. So here the number and the weight of organisms at any level, they depend not only on the amount of fixed energy present at one time in the energy level or the trophic level just below, but also on the rate at which the food is being produced. So both the things matter here. So that's why we can say that in contrast with the pyramids of numbers and biomass, which are pictures of standing situations like organisms present at a moment, the pyramid of energy is a picture of the rates of passage of food or mass through the food chain, and in shape it is always upright, as in most of the cases there is always a gradual decrease in the energy content at a specific trophic level from the producers to various consumers. So this is what happens, and that's why pyramid of energy is always the best way to depict the food relationship between various trophic levels. So if you look at this particular picture, you would understand that starting from producers, as we go up the order, the amount of usable energy available at a trophic level, that starts to decrease. So something that we discussed as a 10% rule, and at each point there is a loss that is happening in terms of heat, and most of the energy is being lost due to this, and then finally this all is going to the decomposers. Then the last point in this is basically to look at the drawbacks of ecological pyramids. First of all, the ecological pyramids do not take into account the same species belonging to two or more trophic levels. What do we mean here? For example, you may have an animal which can belong to a secondary consumer also, and it can be a tertiary consumer as well. So for example, if it is eating a herbivore, in that case that animal becomes a secondary consumer. But if at all, if it is eating a carnivore or an omnivore, in that case it becomes tertiary consumer. So that's why this is one thing that is not accounted for. Whenever we count the number or we see the biomass or we see the energy transfer, we are just looking at a particular organism in a given trophic level. We do not account for one organism being at different trophic levels. So this is one drawback. Then it assumes a simple food chain, something that almost never exists in nature. It does not accommodate a food web. So again, if you notice, we were just talking about a single line of passage of food. We were not talking about a food web, and that's why this is another drawback. Then next is saprophytes are not given any place in ecological pyramid, even though they play a vital role in the ecosystem. So what are saprophytes? Saprophytes are basically detrivores, right? So if you talk about fungi or you talk about bacteria and other decomposers and detrivores, they all are saprophytes. So the saprophytes have not been accounted for when it comes to an ecological pyramid. So that's why these three can be seen as the drawbacks of ecological pyramid, another point which can be important for your prelims examination.